Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
How's it going?
How you doing there, LaMarr? I'm doing
Doing
good.
pretty good.
So we
Doing
missed
pretty
last
good,
week.
yeah.
We had some scheduling difficulties, and here we are. Here we are. Good to see you.
Definitely, yeah. You too, man. Really happy to see you. You still in Arizona?
I'm
Are you
still in
still
Arizona as of today. Yeah.
Okay, great. Man. How you loving the weather?
It's excellent. It's excellent. I'm in the mountains. I'm in the mountains,
was
so
that?
about right now it's about it's been like 70, 80 degrees the past few days, so it's been nice. Very nice.
So you're near Flagstaff or you're farther south?
No, I'm farther south. So I spent 4 days at with a mission organization, and then that was near Tucson, and
Okay.
then I spent 4 days. The last 4 days, I've been at a retreat center a little bit east of there. So I drove about 3 hours east,
Okay.
about parallel. So I'm still pretty south, but I'm in the mountains,
Okay.
so it's
Okay.
nice. It's nice.
Okay. Yeah, I've never seen them. I did the mountains north of Arizona. I never did them south in Arizona. Yeah. That's pretty cool then. In the mountains and it's still warm, huh?
It's still a little bit warm. I mean, it's not brutally hot, so I
Yeah,
like it.
that's good. That's good, man. That's good. I think the temperatures kind of dropped across the country in different places because we got kind of cool here the last couple. It's warm in the daytime, but at night, man, it's quite chilly at night. I mean, I'm wearing hoodies and
Well, I
sweatpants
know
at
that
night.
I know that back home it's fall. The fall season has started. The
Yes.
leaves have started to change and everything. So yeah, I spent a day in Mexico at shelters dropping off supplies for people on the other side of the border who are waiting for their asylum cases to be processed in the United States. And then I
Okay.
spent three days at different locations and different routes, dropping off big gallon jugs of water in the desert for people that are making their way across the desert.
Okay.
Um, Migrants. So that was very interesting. I learned a lot. Next week I'll be prepared with a better presentation. So
I got a
uh,
question for you on that though.
sure.
I heard a comment that was really interesting. I was actually on a post that I posted, and I used the word migrants in the comment. And someone commented said, "These are asylum seekers. These are migrants." So how do we clarify the two? Because I guess people look at migrants as people are just trying to get over to your country. Asylum seekers are leaving because of a political or
Right.
some type of issue going on in their country.
Well, the way I think of it in my mind is that migrants it's a general category.
Yeah,
So if you are at all like if doesn't matter if you're an asylum seeker, if you are coming here to find work, if you are legally migrating, if you're illegally migrating, to me that's all migrants. So
migrants. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I just want to get because I know you've been doing this for a while, and I just want to get some terminology on that, under some clarity on the terminology because I use it as I'm thinking migrants coming across the border and they're looking for a better place to live.
right.
And then when you look at it from an asylum seeker standpoint, you have a certain compassion. Good morning, Gregory. How you doing? You look at people.
Morning,
You give
Greg.
there's a different
Right.
there's a different compassion that you give to people when you use the term asylum seekers. There's a compassion that goes with that statement, and I guess give people a different um, the conversation goes in a different direction when you use asylum seekers. Say it that
Yeah,
way.
it should. It should. I mean, yeah, I think it should that people that are seeking asylum are fleeing persecution or impoverished circumstances or danger to their lives. So
Yeah.
that's
Great
it's
comment.
a very real thing. It's a very real
That was a
thing.
great comment from Harry. Also,
Can you
thank you,
put that
Harry,
up
for your
again?
comment.
A bias with the word migrant because I think of migrant workers, but migrants are moving to another place. Yeah.
Yeah, like
I
I
mean,
migrated to Texas. I'm a migrant, right? Because I migrated to Texas from Ohio. So
sure.
On
no,
a different level, yeah.
but people use that term here in our country and say we migrate from one state to the next. But
From the south to the north,
because
from the
why did
north to the
you
south.
got to look at why did you move? What was the purpose? Mine was from a financial standpoint. It was better
Mhm.
financially for me to move.
But I
That's
mean,
the same thing.
But
That's the same thing. People are moving from South America here or from Haiti want to come here for a better life, better opportunities.
I
yeah,
think though when we put it like that, I think we're neglecting the fact that some of these asylum seekers will die if they don't come here. In their
Oh
mind,
yeah, oh yeah,
it may
definitely.
be true though that their children may die or they
yeah.
may die due to
There's
something
actually
that's going on in their country.
legitimate threats to their lives. But
Yeah,
I mean, migrant workers. This country depends on migrant workers. To be
Right.
frank, there's places in this country that, especially in farm work, um, that depend on people that are seasonal migrant workers.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
that's a whole big issue.
I think also we kind of I'm gonna say fear, but don't understand other cultures, or we feel uncomfortable for what reason I don't understand. Why do we feel uncomfortable with other cultures? Like there was a discussion recently with the housing down here. A lot of new homes are being built by I'll say Hispanic immigrants. I'm not sure exactly what country they all are coming from, but they're Hispanic immigrants, and they're building the homes down here. A lot of the new homes, new communities are being built by these immigrants,
Mhm.
and they these are people that are probably been they're legal citizens here. I'm sure most of them are, but the conversation came about because when they're building these homes, you hear this music in the background all the time playing while they're working. And it's a cultural thing, they're working at this just like any group of people. You building a building, and whoever brings the radio is playing music, whether it's rock and roll, whether it's hip hop, country music, whatever. So they're playing Hispanic music, Latin music. And the complaint was, well, they turned that stuff down. And it was like, for me personally, when I moved into my home, it was like I was one of the 4 houses that were built. Now the whole strip is like the whole street is full now. But when I came, the opposite side of my street was all empty. So I witnessed that culture of the Latin music and these people building homes, going, build one, go to the next one, build, this whole thing. And it was such a great refresher for me to wake up 6 in the morning and I see the guys getting ready. And then 7 in the morning, 8 o'clock, the music starts playing. And you tack, 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 drill, 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 tack, tack. They're building this house, And for me, it was refreshing. I come home from work and I hear this music playing. And I'm like, it was just refreshing to me. And it gave you an opportunity to experience another culture, and actually I didn't have any control over it. I was just involved. I was into that environment. And it was refreshing. So for someone to say, cut that stuff down, and they're complaining, and we're like, just chill for a minute. It's only temporary. They're going to move on to another area of the state. So anyway, that just
so they're working, they're doing their thing.
So this whole thing, living here, in Texas, gave me a different compassion for the people that's crossing the border, to the residents that are here that are legalized, that are still being mistreated because they're from another country. And I watch it, and it's like sickening to my stomach that, man, no matter how hard you try to make it, there's always somebody criticizing you for you trying to make it.
I think what's crazy about all of this is that most of our states are the people who in our country. The people in our country are mostly from other countries.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. It's just like all of New York is from somewhere else. Mostly places in Europe. A lot of people come over from different countries in Europe, and they have a normal life, and they don't face any criticism. And it's just like, and then you look at all the different industries in our country, and a lot of them are made up of immigrants or migrants. And I just don't understand how you can make an exception for one set of immigrants and not for another.
Well, it's how you get in. You don't see anybody crossing and storming borders of New York is what you're looking at.
Because they didn't have to.
No, right. They didn't have to. And what I'm saying is that we have to also look at the conditions of these other countries that we had our hand in. That we contribute to their situation. So I think that has a lot to do with
Panama, El Salvador.
Yeah, I mean that makes when the people come over the border from the south, we realize we created that problem. Now we're trying to keep them back.
Haiti.
Haiti is another example. I mean, we were just talking about Haiti earlier. For those that don't know, these people that are coming across the border from Haiti, these are people that left Haiti because of the earthquake 10 years ago.
So
they left Haiti. They left Haiti and they went to Central America. They didn't get in a canoe or a raft and float over there. They actually got in airplanes because they had money to fly over there. These are working people. So they get to get to Central America to look for jobs. So they go to Brazil and they get jobs in Brazil. And a lot of them start working during the Olympics because it was when you work for the Olympics, you have to build up to that point. So there's work to be done to the Olympics. And then after the Olympics, there's a teardown process. And there's, but what hurt these people the most was when COVID came out. These families lost their jobs because of COVID. So they start migrating north. And as they migrated north, they worked along the way to try to get here. So that brought their whole family. They gave up everything that they had in Brazil. Remember, you had to leave everything in Haiti to fly to South America. You get there, and then COVID happens. You start migrating north. You have to give up everything you have. You acquired things in 10 years. You know what I'm saying? So that's the impression we get. The bad impression. A lot of times, our media and the ignorance of people give the impression that these are just poor people who decided just to leave their country and just float on a raft and get to America. That's not always the case.
No, it's not, because a lot of these people came from South America. They went, as you said, from Haiti to South America, and they walked through Central America and Mexico to get where they are. So that this was a big news issue this week. The Haitian refugees in El Rio, Texas, down there at the border, living under the bridge. There was as many as 9,000. Some people said 13 to 14,000.
14,000.
They're all gone now. 14,000. And if you've seen, I know that many of you have probably seen pictures of this. It was pretty horrid. And now they're all gone. Just like that, they're all gone. They all been processed. As soon as it made news, as soon as it started to look bad, then now they've been processed. So
here's a question for you.
Go figure.
Where should they go? Now, some of them are still in scattered cities in America where they've sent some of them, but they've been sending them back to Haiti. Now, think about this.
Yes.
A lot of these people for the last 10 years been living in South America. Why not send them back to Brazil or to the countries they came from where they may find work? Why send them to a country where back to Haiti, where they're not going to find work? They're going to turn around and come
that's
right
a good point.
back. They're going to come right back. They already said it. People said, we're not staying there. Some people said, I don't even know Haiti anymore.
Yeah.
I don't even know this country anymore. So, I mean, that's the crazy thing, is that there's not, there wasn't any type of logical thinking behind this move. It was a move to make people comfortable again.
That's what they do. That's what they do. If they know your country of origin, if you're a citizen of this particular country, they don't care if you hadn't been there in 10 years or 20 years. They will send you back there.
Yeah. This is one of the pictures from the Cowboys in Del Rio. Oh, it's a background.
Border Patrol.
How do I get it on the screen?
You most people have seen those pictures where the border agents were on horses and with the whip and well,
it's actually those are reins. I've been corrected on that one too.
To me.
Yeah, but it's you have an extension on the reins of the horse, so the extension is used to basically like herd people like cattle, which is what they were doing. But they, from what I understand, they didn't hit the people with the reins, but they were threatening them with the reins. Now, I mean, I had to go back. So I had to make only reason why I'm saying that, because I had to go back and do much video research and be corrected, because I used the term whipping. And
let's talk about it.
So I mean, I'm not saying
we know that belts are used to hold up your pants. We know that belts are used to hold up your pants, right?
Right.
We know that extension cords are used to plug in the walls.
Right.
We know that switches are meant to be on trees.
Right.
Yet I think all of us got whooped by those things growing up. So at the end of the day,
I agree with you. I'm in agreement with you. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
I just don't want to. What I'm saying is that I believe that some people may have got whipped by them reins. I believe that people were threatened to be whipped by those reins. And
I believe I got whipped with those reins.
And so the point I'm making with that is there was no definitive answer saying yes. So what I had to do, what I'm saying is I had to correct myself, because I'm always in the public view on social media. So I had to correct myself on some things. Now,
little white immigrants.
But the whole point is, but if you look
there would be no whips.
But if you look at you look at the whole picture, it was inhumane how they were treated.
It was very inhumane.
There was no way, whether they were whipped or not, there's no way they should have been threatened with it. There's no reason why you should have used your reins in that particular manner with people that aren't a threat to you.
Yes, they were not a threat. So I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Governments do not care about people's personal story. I would hope that at some point we would try and care about this. I know that there's a lot of people. I know that there's a lot of hoops to jump through. I know that there's a lot of headaches, but it would be nice if we would at least try to worry about people's stories. And the reality is that things really haven't changed much in the Biden administration as far as immigration and these issues, asylum seeking. They have not changed much at all. The language has changed. Their children in cages has changed, but other than that, things have pretty much been the same. Title 42 of waiting in Mexico is still in place. So there are things that are still in place, and people are being treated poorly, and people are in unfortunate places, and we saw that this week.
There should be a video there, Bria. You can play that.
Okay.
An impromptu border camp was emptied of thousands of Haitian migrants Friday, with most remaining in the United States for now, and others expelled on deportation flights or returned to Mexico. This comes after images of U.S. border guards on horseback used reins like whips against Haitian migrants near their camp, sparked widespread outrage across the U.S. over the past week. Actions President Joe Biden condemned on Friday.
To see people treated like they did, horses barely running them over, people being strapped, it's outrageous. I promise you those people will pay. There will be consequences. It's an embarrassment, but it's beyond an embarrassment. It's dangerous. It's wrong. It sends the wrong message around the world. It sends the wrong message at home. It's simply not who we are.
U.S. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said nearly 30,000 migrants had been encountered in Del Rio in the past 2 weeks. More than 12,000 will have a chance to make their case for protection before a U.S. immigration judge. An estimated 8,000 voluntarily returned to Mexico, and 2,000 were expelled to Haiti. The fate of others detained is to be decided. The Biden administration has faced backlash after the contentious use of expulsion flights back to Haiti. Mexico has also sought to bus and fly Haitians to its southern states, far from the U.S. border. The U.S. government in May extended temporary protection from deportation to Haitians in the United States, citing a political crisis, rights abuses, crime, and lack of access to food, water, and health care in the Western Hemisphere's poorest country.
Wow. Well,
what I will say is that seeing the video of them on the horses in the water and them scaring people away, it really does bring back pictures that I saw in the history books growing up. It doesn't really look much different to me, except for one is in color and one is in black and white. I don't really see much of a difference. But what also upsets me too is just they are trying to do this the right way. They are trying to present their cases. And I just don't understand why their process of becoming citizens of this country is much more different and just violent and just, discriminatory than other people that come from Europe, people that come from other countries who look more like people in this country. I think that is just really sad. And the problem too is our country is a melting pot. People that want to come here are not just going to come here and sit on their butts. They're actually going to put in work that lazy Americans won't.
They want to work.
Yeah, I agree.
So here's what bothered me the images bothered me, but with that was the audio. If you heard some of that, some of the what this one guard was saying, is this why your country is an S S-hole country, because you make your women do this because women were carrying food? These people were coming back from getting food. They were coming back from getting food.
Yeah, they go to Mexico and get the food,
and then they get harassed. And then they get harassed. And
I didn't hear that. What?
On video. They were being insulted as well as physically accosted.
And I'm just. That's crazy to me. That is crazy considering the people who are doing that, most likely their parents came from a different country to be here too. Or their parents, somewhere down the line, sir, you wouldn't hear.
So there's just a lack of compassion. The lack of compassion is what bothered me. It's just obviously these people need help. Whatever it is that they're fleeing from, we might not know their story. We don't need to know their story. They're in a extreme circumstance right now, and they need help.
So there's other suggestions.
That's all there is to it.
There was a suggestion made yesterday. I listened to a talk radio that the United States just like we send money to Israel and all these other countries every year, they can set something up. They can have the resources to set up to go ahead and establish, put things together in Haiti. The thing about it with a lot of other countries is that like one guy suggested Panama, like, getting Panama involved as a place that we can build up in Panama to send people until Haiti has been put back together. The thing about it is that in most countries, there could be an established government. In Haiti right now, there's not an established government.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what's going to make it bad. So you can't go there and create a government. Like people say, bring your military in and create. No, you can't do that. But you can put them in place somewhere else that we have a relationship with, like Panama, and put a place there for them to go, where we can set camps. I'm not going to use the word camps, but set buildings. Bring in our core. What do you call it? Core engineers, and create housing for these people until something happens in Haiti where they can go back home.
So why can't they stay here? I'm definitely not. I'm not an expert on anything like this, so I'm not sure the reasoning why. But what is the problem with them staying here?
It's processing so many people at this point. Our immigration.
To me, it's not a problem for them to stay here.
So why can't they stay here? And
I'm trying to tell you why it's not. I'm trying to tell you why it's not happening. The answer is processing. That's what they're saying. So it's not a problem to keep
But they processed them when they put their minds to it. They were able to process all those people. Some people went back to Haiti. Some people went back to Mexico. Some people got to the United States.
I totally agree.
Minds to it, they did it.
I'm giving you the answer why they haven't done it.
But I'm not
agreeing with
you. My question is just to the United States. Why can't these people be settled here, and then they have their time to present their case? But in that time, why can't they be comfortable? Why can't they live like everyone else? Why should they have to go through this horrible? Like they have kids. You know what I'm saying? Why can't we get their families settled and treat them like human beings? That's all.
America fears the browning of America. That's the flat out answer. Instead of cutting around corners and just cut to the chase. That's the whole point of it. And if anybody wants to disagree with me, bring your dispute.
And you all of this browning of
America. I wanted to make one point. I listened to Jen Psaki this week do a press conference, and she was asked about the Haitian refugees, and she said, "Well, that this government was trying to invest in Haiti, and trying to get a better for them to have a better place to go back to." Now, I don't know, but I haven't seen or heard anything about like us investing in Haiti from a official standpoint.
I haven't either.
So, but that was her answer, is that we're going to try to make Haiti a better place for them to go back to, basically, is what they were saying. So I just wanted to make that point before you went on to. But Greg makes a good point about this. This government doesn't care about its own people. Why should they care about others?
Exactly, I totally agree.
Such a catastrophe. So that's a good point. There are people in this country that we don't care about, who are citizens of this country. So
yeah.
No,
you're absolutely right. And I agree. I mean, and that's something you've heard me say this before. In regards to Afghanistan, Haiti, or anybody else, Mexico. If we can't get our own issues straight right here in our country, how can we come together for a good cause for another country? We can't. We have the same issues right here in America.
We can't agree on anything. We can't agree on helping people. Even
we probably have more homeless people than any other country, probably. And there's no need for that.
Yeah, there's
no need for it. Well, and then you got to backtrack. That is saying that some people have chosen to be homeless. When I say that is that some people have just let me rephrase that. Some people have given up so much. They've given up on life. They're at a mental state of no hope. That's what I'm saying. So I'm not saying in the sense that they decide, "Oh, I'm going to be homeless today," but people have given up hope, and they had no choice but to be on the street, and they're there. Yeah. So How do we fix that? Some of these situations we can't fix, but what about those that are homeless that don't choose to be homeless? We can help those homeless people. And then we find a way to mentally, if those that have mental issues that are homeless, that have the no hope or despair, what type of medical treatment or healthcare treatment can we give these people to put their mind in a good state? I'm not sure.
Too, America would benefit from having less homeless people, less people on the street. You know, so
definitely.
There's more than enough money to get all the homeless people off of the street.
But money may not be the problem, though. It may not be money.
Well, when you look at places like Hollywood and you look at Skid Row right there, that's a money problem.
That's an example. Yes.
There's no reason why you have one side of the street riddled with homeless people, and then you have the other side of the street, and it's like, you know, on the other street over, there's like billions of dollars floating. Just billions of dollars just walking.
One thing I've noticed about the United States is that we'd like to put things out of sight. Yeah. So if there's a recycling center, if there's a garbage dump, if there's a jail, a prison, we like to keep that out of the way so we don't see it, or if it's in certain neighborhoods. So to think that there's like one side of the street that is rich and one side of the street is poor isn't as noticeable as it is in other countries. Yeah. The countries that I've been to, there are literally places where one side of the street is gated and is nice, and the other side of the street people are living in tin huts.
Yeah,
you don't see that in the United States because we don't want to see it. We don't want to see the poor. We don't want to see homeless.
Yeah. We don't want to see
bad things.
Yeah, I have a former coworker who lives in Hollywood, who lives in California. And she went to an event, and literally on the same street, one side of the street, there were valets, cars, people going inside. On the other side of the street, literally on the same street, guys.
Right.
Where was that?
And tents. I'm not sure exactly where it was, but I know that it was in Hollywood somewhere.
Hollywood?
Or in Los Angeles somewhere. Sorry, guys. I've never been to California. So
I don't know.
Together. But it was an event. It was an event with celebrities.
Yeah.
So you've got on the other side of the street people in tents and like living in cars. It's literally the same street. And she took a picture of it. And she's like, "There's no reason that this much money is in this and at this event, and you've got homeless people sitting there right there on the street, living on the street."
There's a lot of homeless people in California.
Yeah,
California,
Los Angeles, you guys. I'm sorry, I've never been to California, so I just kind of.
California has one of the highest living
working homeless.
But they have a lot of homeless people there too. So there's a lot of rich people in California. There's a lot of poor people in California. There's a lot of homelessness in California. Right on the beach in places like Santa Barbara.
Yeah, Santa Monica Beach.
All those places. There's a lot of homeless people where there's some really nice neighborhoods and really touristy things. There's a lot of homelessness.
But there's no reason for there to be so much homelessness, is all I'm saying.
Well, yeah.
It's like, why doesn't the government make a better effort? Why doesn't the California governor, why doesn't make a better effort to reach out and get these people off the street?
I tell you a big reason why.
Homeless shelters. Have you seen homeless shelters? They're horrible.
Yeah.
Fix the homeless shelters. Yeah. I mean, you would think more people want to sleep in a bed in a homeless shelter that's livable. Right now they would rather sleep on the street.
Here's the thing, and we hinted on this earlier in the show. Is the way we look at those people. It's like, well, maybe they want to be homeless, or maybe they deserve to be homeless. Almost. We might not even say that. We might not even say that, but we might think that. We might think that. A lot of people think that.
Well, we had Greg McLean on earlier in the year talking about him being homeless. You know, he slept in his car. He tried to go to a homeless shelter, and he worked nights. But because he didn't get off work until after 9 o'clock, the homeless shelter didn't want him there. Yeah. They closed it up. He's trying to work, so he had to sleep in his car. So, I mean, I've met homeless people. I fed the homeless in Ohio, and it was where I met two guys. They were musicians.
A homeless forum, a homelessness forum.
Yeah, I met two homeless guys that were musicians. Both got on drugs. One of them played with Marvin Sapp as a drummer. I had one that I knew that played. That was in with the movie Breakin'. He was the drummer for the theme song with Shaka Khan, and they came. These people come to tour. They get caught up with the wrong people. They pass out on the drugs, or they're on these drugs, and then they pass out. The tour, the group, the people that's on tour, they already packed up and went to the next city, and this person's left here in the city, and they get back on there. They're still taking the drugs, and they end up being homeless here. And these were successful musicians. And so when I say that, sometimes you have to get people out of their condition, out of from a mental standpoint, a healthcare standpoint, in order for them to see that they can move forward to get out of homelessness. So there are steps that we can take, but also that person has to be willing to take those steps. Is what
we should do a homeless segment.
That's a really good point.
Homeless show. I have some people that I could bring on as guests, and
so that's some of the things that we
more in detail.
Some of the things we're going to be talking about today. You had the COVID issue with The View. We talked about the migrant incident. We had the shooting and outside of Memphis, Tennessee. And there's a host of other things that we're going to be talking about today. But if anybody out there have anything they want to talk about or bring to the table, just go ahead and comment us, and we can have that discussion as well. Somebody going to say something?
Here's one thing that you put up here this morning, LaMarr's Afghanistan girls soccer team given asylum in Portugal. That's an interesting story. What can you tell us about that?
I was just going through some articles. I didn't really get into in depth about that story. But the question I had, reason why I put it in there, because I had a follow up question behind that was, is it up to other countries to step up? Because people expect the United States to always be the ones to accept people seeking asylum.
They do step up. They do step up.
We tend to try to step up with that. But is it just for instance, the people coming from Afghanistan? Aren't there closer countries they can go to than to come all the way to the United States?
Well, there's a couple things that I could say about that. Is that if you remember the Syrian crisis, a lot of the European countries did open their borders, and a lot of those people did accept those asylum seekers. Canada did. Places. So there are places besides the United States that do this, that accept people, that accept people in asylum circumstances. I think that in the case of Afghanistan, I think that it's a little bit incumbent upon the United States to take care of those people, because we were responsible for being there. So, and they're the ones that helped us. We were the ones that were withdrawing. So it makes sense that we would bring some people with us. That's what I think. That's what I think that for us, Afghanistan does have we should do something about that as a country, I believe. Now, but other countries could accept more of those people. I think they should. I don't know if they are. I would imagine that many places are. I just don't know enough right now.
Yeah, it just typically is like people. The world looks at us to be the one to make that move, and to be the first ones to open our doors up. And I just want to see us. I want to see us treat people humanely. And I just wish that we would get this situation under control. We've never handled our border issues after the first wave of immigrants came over here in the early 1900s and late 1800s. We've never, after basically European immigrants come over here. That's when the border crisis became. When other countries started to come over here, is when when everything started to lock down, and we've never got a handle on our borders since. We've never had a handle on it, and
Jeff,
I'm not sure exactly what we want to do
here. Jeff asked a question. Devil's advocate: would you be willing to take in homeless people into your home? I would be willing, except that I've taken care of some homeless people and given them a place to stay, offered a place to stay for some people.
I have
it's
too.
very difficult. It's very difficult and very stressful. I knew a friend that did years ago back in California that opened her home to a few homeless people in need. It takes a lot out of you, but I think as a society, it's something that we should take care of the least of these. We should take care of people who are in adverse circumstances.
Yeah.
I just believe that. So
yeah,
it's hard to do it individually.
I know we've helped family members that were, trying to relocate or trying to basically get their lives together. And it can be difficult at times because you have to come out of your resources to do that. And it can be hard. And then you also look at the different people I've known over the years that I might not have had them live with me, but I've helped them out in so many ways financially, just by, just helping them out, and it gets to a point where you have to, some people, like I said earlier, some people choose to be in their situation. And you can tell exactly that way when you're offering your help to people and it's a reoccurring help that you need to give. You can tell if a person wants to be in their situation or not. Sometimes you have to then step back and say, you know what, I've given a lot to help you out.
Yeah.
It's time for you to step up to the plate. So it depends. It depends on the situation. I mean, you always want to do it for family because there's love. But those that aren't family, your compassion still has to be the same. But then there's a line that's drawn of how much you help and how long you help. And there has to be conditions. It has to be, if you're going to bring somebody into your home or you're going to financially help somebody, there has to be a line drawn of what the boundaries are of that help and how long that help's going to be. It can't be open-ended because open-ended will leave a heart in the relationship. So you need to, because you're going to build a relationship with these people. It's not like you don't know these people or you're not going to get to know them.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
There's a relationship that builds. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that made news this week is the Gabby Petito case. And again, we see this every year or so. We see this sometimes where somebody is missing and the media gets a hold of it and they follow it to the nth degree. We've heard all the details at this point about this woman, about her fiance, about their trip. I mean, is there something we don't know about the case that hasn't been made public? It's ridiculous. And yet, in this country, there are thousands of other young women and girls and people, male and female, that are missing and do not get any attention at all. So there you go.
Yeah. I think one of the things that bother me the most about this is that.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Sure.
No, because really, I want to hear your point.
Yeah.
I want to just say something first from being part of the bottom line is that we also want to say we do feel bad that this young lady was killed and that she was missing.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Before we because we got a whole slew of criticism we can put on this whole case, but I want to say that
it is a tragedy.
It's sad to see anyone killed. Yeah. So go ahead, Brie. I'm sorry.
So what I was going to say was that it's really sad that both of these. Well, there's 3 people that we're going to talk about, but the 2 that were actually found were Jelani Day and Gabby Petito, and both of these cases are very tragic. And I couldn't imagine being, their mother or feeling with their mother. So I have children myself. I don't know what I would do. Mm-hmm. So I definitely extend my condolences to the Petito family and the Day family. That's what I was going to say before I went into my slew of criticisms. I do have a slew of criticisms.
Yeah, we do.
The first thing that did bother me about this was just the fact that the Gabby Petito story was followed every day, pretty much. Almost 24/7 from what I was seeing. Every time I don't watch the news live real time. What I do is I have all of these news outlets on my YouTube, and I just turn on my YouTube and I can see all of the stories. And I remember one day, this past week, all of the stories were on Gabby Petito. Mm-hmm. And I want to say that this is a good thing. Okay, when you have someone missing and young and in danger, you want to have a lot of stories about them.
Exactly.
I feel like the efforts shouldn't be biased. Mm-hmm. And in this case, they were. You know, we followed her story from while they were on their trip. We saw the videos, the pictures. We saw the police video, the body cam footage. Then we saw that she went missing, and then they found her, and this all happened within the span of like a week, right?
Yeah.
And they found her in a state park in Wyoming.
That's a lot of space.
Which is nearly, you can't find a big red clown truck in the middle of a state park. So that means that there was a massive effort.
Massive search.
For finding her. Yeah. So when I think of Jelani Day, who had been missing since August, and they had his body for 3 weeks before they even identified him and told the parents. And the parents of Jelani Day were begging for some answers, for some help. Let's find our son. Let's find my son.
Help me.
You know, and you know, they had a lot of evidence as to what could have happened to him. I mean, they had his car. His clothes were in his car.
Yep, they had everything.
I saw him at a store near Illinois State University. They found his body 60 miles away, and the Illinois River. Why would you not identify him? What happened to where how do you have a body for 3 weeks and fail to identify the body, and you're looking for this missing person? So
well, media puts a lot of pressure on the police and the investigative forces to do something. And if there's not media attention, then there isn't going to be
But that's what I'm saying is, where is the media attention for? I know that there are a lot of white people missing that don't get the same media attention.
Yeah.
But I've never seen.
It's also a young issue. I mean, somebody that's 50 years old that's missing. But the fact that she was 20, whatever, young and pretty, makes a difference to people.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, I think for me, my mind just kind of wrapping around the turn of events that happened.
Yeah.
And then having this Jelani. Now, I haven't seen the Jelani Day story during this time, but it was only on Instagram. It was only on like social media outlets.
Right. People were sharing the story.
Yes. And just like, and I will also point out, there's a young lady from Cleveland, Raja McQueen.
Yep.
Who was missing. She's been missing for 3 months now, I think. She's missing. I have pictures of all of these people. Let's take a look so we can really put their faces in our mind.
Yes.
This is Gabby Petito. She was 22 years old, and she was murdered. We can't say who, but I think we all have an idea of who it was. But she was murdered. She was killed, and she was found in a state park in Wyoming.
Yep.
Okay. We also have Jelani Day, who was found, who was missing in August, who was found soon after that, but they kept his body for 3 weeks before even attempting to identify him.
Right.
They identified him. And the worst part is the stories that are surfacing today when you look online, it's like Jelani Day's body's found.
Yep.
3 weeks ago. You found him, say it.
Yeah, they want you to think they just found it. No, it's
3 weeks ago.
Right.
Okay. This is Raja McQueen. Beautiful. We don't know where she is. Let's find Raja McQueen. Where is Raja McQueen's media coverage? Now, here's what gets me about this.
A mother.
Yes. And she went missing. She was coming. I think she was visiting home from college, right?
Right.
Or is that what was going on?
I think so. I haven't kept up with her whole story yet.
I just remember I still see her posts in my timeline. But the thing that gets me is when you look at the last story on Raja McQueen, it was July 13th, before yesterday. We saw a story on Channel 5 News where they're offering $5,000 or $5,000 reward for information that could lead them to her. But my thing is, like, it took all of this outrage over missing persons for you guys to cover her again.
Yeah.
She should be getting news coverage every single day until we find her.
Exactly.
So every day before you guys close out the show on your news network, make sure you do the story on Raja McQueen. Because
she was last tracked in Westlake, and they have her license plate number.
I think that it would be, beneficial for them to put the same effort in. Because if you can find Gabby Petito in a state park in a week, you can find all these other missing persons. Think about it. There were teens this year in May that went missing, like 15 of them within the same time. It was like in the 2 weeks period in the same state.
Yeah.
Missing one day after the other, day after the other. We don't know if these kids are being sex trafficked. We don't know if these kids are being murdered. We don't know if they're being kidnapped. We don't know. We don't know. And no one seems to care. So, it's very tragic what happened to Gabby Petito. It's insanely tragic. I couldn't imagine being her mom.
Yeah.
But as a mother, I also want to see the same effort for other people's children, especially children that look like mine.
Sad.
Yeah. Well, it shows you also that with the Gabby Petito situation, the system can work and it's designed to work as it should.
Yeah.
That the way they commercialize or put the media to this, made it a known thing.
Yeah.
That's how the system is supposed to work.
It's supposed to work.
And that's how it should always work.
That's how it's supposed to work. That's why I was saying this is a great thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome.
In fact, if anything, let's see. They found Gabby due to a tip that
the reason why they had a tip is because of the media coverage, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for the media, we never knew who Gabby was.
My thing is like, this proves, like you said, that the system works. This is a great thing that they were able to run all of this coverage on the Gabby Petito story, because now we know that they're capable.
Yeah.
There's and no it shouldn't just I don't want to make every single thing a race thing. And it shouldn't be a race thing, because there are, like I said, Hispanic people missing, Asian people missing. There are Black kids missing. There are kids and young adults from every race that are missing, and they all should get the same news coverage.
Agreed.
It should not be biased. It shouldn't matter if you have a following on Instagram or social media. It shouldn't matter how pretty or attractive you are. It should not matter. What should matter is that you're missing, you're young, you still have life in you, and we can find you.
Yeah. No, good statement, Bria. Really good statement.
This doesn't make sense to me too much.
It doesn't. I mean, if you all remember, back in, well, you won't remember, but Darrin may remember, back in the 80s, like around the time that we were in school, in high school, there was a bunch of missing women in Cleveland, young girls.
Yep.
In the 80s. I remember a situation that was, I'm not sure if it was Shaker High School. Some girls were walking from Shaker High School, and a guy tried to grab one of the girls and put her in the car, and she got away. And not too long after that, one of our friends from high school was murdered.
Right.
Leslie Cross. But around that time, there was a lot of women in Cleveland area that were missing. And I think that was a time also when the sex trade started to really, really start to launch more in these cities across the country. I'm not sure how long it's been going on, but at that time, you start hearing more and more about girls being missing, more and more and more. And then, you hear this thing about sex trades, and they're sending people, to different countries and all this stuff. We don't know what happens to these girls all the time when they're missing. Yeah. But it's been around for a while, and it's 2021, and we still have not learned how to track down missing people. Or take it back, we have learned how to do it, but we're not doing it at an effective rate as we should.
Right.
I think the sex trafficking rings are, I feel like these that's a subject within a subject.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact that the sex trafficking rings in this country have some higher power.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So it's money. It's ran off of money.
And then there were stories. I remember, what channel was that on? I cannot remember the channel, but I watched. It was an hour-long show about. Oh, did we lose? Oh, you go. An hour-long show about how bringing people into the country over the border, and they were selling these girls into sex slavery. Mm-hmm. And the people that were doing it were like the border control.
Yeah.
They were like, and then the border control answered to like the state officials,
right,
within the state. So it's just like, that's like a subject within a subject, because the only way that we're going to take down the sex trafficking rings in this country is if we address the head of the rings.
All right. And they don't want to do that because they don't want to expose the power that's up at top.
And there's a lot of money to be made.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. I mean, that's no different than the illegal arms. It's no different than the drug trade. It's all big money, power, control, and they can tackle that if they want to. They choose not to tackle it. They rather continue to put the little people in jail instead of going after the money that's at the top. And it's been like that.
What this reminds me of, I don't know if you remember this, but a few years ago, do you remember when I went on that trip with Kaylin for her 16th birthday to Kings Island, and a group of us girls went with Kaylin's dad out there?
Vaguely.
Okay, I was in like the 10th grade at the time. Mm-hmm. Okay, we went on that trip it was me, Kaylin, Isis, and Tierra Bryant. Tierra Bryant went missing after we graduated from high school.
Right.
And she was not found. I don't believe she was found until 3 years later. And let's see, because I have the story here. 1 second. Yeah, so she was 19. She was murdered. And she was found years later.
Yeah.
And the worst part of it was that they knew who it was. They had leads.
Yeah, it was a Illyria man.
Happened to her. Yeah. And they found him in California based on this story.
You said they found her in California?
They found him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
California.
Rashad Hunt.
Yeah, I'm reading the story. He told them where her body was.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to go into the details of the story because really it doesn't matter. What matters is that she was missing for so long. And it's just like, how can someone be missing for that long? You have all of this support to try to find her. And it was just, for me, that was like a real moment right there because I knew Tierra Bryant. We weren't very close friends. I wasn't friends with her family. We went to school together and we took a trip together, but we saw each other in school all the time. I've had conversations with her. So while this was happening, I mean, all this entire time, I was like, please let her be alive.
Right.
And then, they found her body and it was like someone just punched the air out of you.
Right.
And so
it's heartbreaking.
It's very close to home a lot of times. And it's like, I guess people don't really care or put much thought into it until it is like right next to you, until it's somebody that you know.
Yeah.
She was missing for a long time. And it even takes me back to when Shakira, do you remember Shakira? What was her name? Shakira Johnson.
Yeah.
When I was in 3rd grade. I mean, she was found near my school.
Right.
And I still don't think they found her killer. But it's just, it's when it's that close to you. You want to see more effort.
And not only that, when you know the effort, that that the resources are there to do it. And that's what's so troubling. The resources are there. You have the manpower there. Yeah, definitely. Remember, Gina, 10 years. Yes, definitely.
Not only that, we lived right next to that street at the time that they found her. Me and Mom, we lived on the west side. We lived right there on Lorraine.
Yeah,
right, like a few streets.
There was a couple of. I know people that live right there in the neighborhood. Lil Rob, the guy used to rap. He one of my students. That was his neighborhood. So that was really tragic when they discovered that. And this guy was having his girls in the house the whole time. That he had people at his house who didn't even realize girls were there. Like what?
Three women.
Yeah.
And a child
living in your house. So, yeah. So we have to do a better job as a nation in hunting down our missing children, missing adults. It shouldn't take. I'm not gonna say it shouldn't. How long it should take, but at least the effort should be there to put their faces out there. It shouldn't be left up to just residents in the community to put posters on a flag on a telephone pole. We can have big news on this and keep it, because if you remember, when the first girl went missing, what was her name?
That was Michelle. I think Linda Jesus went missing first, then Michelle Knight and Amanda Berry.
Amanda Berry. When
she
Amanda
wasn't missing though.
When Amanda was found, the news coverage went right to Amanda.
It did.
So that again, it shows you just how our media coverage works. and we have to change
I didn't even
that.
know that there were 2 other women there.
Right, exactly.
I thought it was just because, Charles Ramsey was saying he had to help her, and she ran up to him and asked for help. And, her mom had been on TV before that, too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All of them customers of mine. Wow.
Wow, Gregory.
That's really close to you.
Yeah, I know that's hard. That hurts your heart, man, to know that you've had close ties to these people.
When it's that's what I'm saying. It's like when it's so close, it's hard. You want more effort.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we know for a fact that our law enforcement agencies and the research people need to do a better job and be more unbiased in how they go after go searching for missing people. But what we got next coming up?
Well, the shooting at the Kroger in Tennessee happened.
Okay.
And 13 people were injured. I believe 1 was killed, so that's 14 people, I believe, were affected. And we don't know a lot about this, specifically a motive, why this person decided to do this. Again, it's a troubling situation and tragic. Another sort of mass shooting that we have, not sort of, a mass shooting that we had in America. So.
And you got a video there, Bria, with one of the eyewitnesses.
Yeah.
And this is Collierville, Tennessee. This is a suburb of Memphis.
Joining us now is Sarah Wiles, the ICU nurse who was there in the store when the gunman entered, and then Sarah rushed to help some of the victims. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, I just want to say we're so glad that you are safe, and let me say that our hearts are with everyone there in your community, and you must be in a state of shock.
It's surreal for me. For the victims, I can only imagine it's devastating. Fortunately, we're a very tight-knit community, so we'll be blessed in this fact that we're all going to rally around these victims, and especially the King family. We will all be here for them.
Absolutely. And you were in the produce department when the gunman opened fire. Tell us what happened and how you managed to keep yourself safe.
Just walked in on a Thursday to buy a potato and an onion to make soup for dinner, and was in the back, and I heard the initial pop of the gun, but at that time I thought it was one of the Mylar balloons that they had up in the floral department. And seconds later, they heard another one, and people started looking towards the front of the store. A couple of seconds later, I assume, there were 3 rapid fire shots, and at that point, I knew it wasn't a balloon, and just started running. Ran to the meat department. One of the Kroger employees was directing us to the back hallway where they have the stock rooms. And ran into 2 other women, and the 3 of us ran together, and we made ourselves a hiding space, and we hid in that area until we could hear things start to settle down. We did hear the shooter in the back walking up and down the hall shooting. When I got to a point where I felt we were at least tucked away enough, I did call my husband, and he could hear the gunshots as well. So we just hid there until we could sense that things had gotten better. And as some police officers were walking by, we made our whereabouts known, and they escorted us out to the back where we ran into several of the shooting victims in the back.
It's frightening to even imagine what you've gone through. And after the police got you out of the freezer, they led you to safety. What did you see at the scene?
They led us out of the back section of the store, and when I got there, as we got there, 4 victims in one area. 2 victims were sitting in the grass next to the road that runs behind Kroger, and I just turned and looked at the paramedics and said, I'm a nurse, what do I do? What do you need me to do? And just went around and helped check on people and asked them how they were doing, and made sure that people were conscious. There wasn't, more bleeding going on, those kinds of things. And most of the credit has to go to the Kroger employees and to our first responders. Everybody says when they've seen this scenario that it never happens in my community. I can tell you that's true, living here for 33 years. But our Collierville Police Department, our fire department, our surrounding towns, the county over from us, their presence was immediate, and profound.
Absolutely.
It could have been a whole lot worse had it been a weekend, but it was just a typical Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon.
Well, we're happy it wasn't a lot worse than it's already devastating for what it was. And thankfully, Sarah, you were there to help. And again, our hearts and prayers go out to you and everyone there in Collierville. We want to thank you so much for speaking with us this morning. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
That is so sad.
And
And all that does is spark up another gun debate. Has nothing to do with the situation, but want to do a debate. And it's so sad that people have issues, man. What
do you mean by that? Let's talk about that a little more.
Jeff says it makes it think how fragile life is. Just going out to get an onion, it could be your last day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it really makes you think. It could have been me. Could have been you. Could have been a member of your family.
Mm-hmm.
How scary is that to be hiding away, calling your husband and telling him that you're in the middle of a shooting?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like for him to be on the other end, he was probably just so terrified. What can he do? He can't come up there. What can he do? He just has to sit and wait.
Yeah. It's sad. It's just really sad. Like I said, could be your last meal. I was at Walmart yesterday and I was thinking about that shooting and I was like, wow. So I'm like always like, not always, but you're in those situations where you're just thinking about your surroundings. When I go into a Walmart or a shopping center, or I'm at a venue where a lot of people, that's one of the thoughts that enter my mind now, is that there could be a shooting here. Am I prepared? I think about those things. It happens like you've been to Legacy Hall here, Bria.
Mm-hmm.
You see how that venue is set up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too many exits from where you can just.
Right.
I mean, there are exits there, but it's not like
go through the store.
It's not like a main entrance. There's only one main entrance, but there are exits around. Right. There's exits around the place, but it's only one main entrance. And
this is why I don't take my kids to the store with me anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I don't. After I think it was like 2 years ago. No, like last year, there was that shooting at Walmart. Mm-hmm. And there was it was like a back-to-back shootings at like Walmarts. Mm-hmm. And I don't know.
We had the one here. We had the one in El Paso.
There was one in Missouri too.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, nope. We don't shop at Walmart. We go to Target, but still, nope. I'm not going to bring my kids into Walmart or Target anymore. I just don't see it. I don't know. I think maybe I always think this, like maybe if I was back home in Cleveland, maybe I wouldn't have such a problem with it. But I really don't know anything.
What do you think, though? Why do you think that?
I don't know. I think being familiar and comfortable at home, maybe in Cleveland. And that's my true thoughts. I think that if I was back home, I probably wouldn't think about it too much. But me being out here in Kansas City, Missouri, and I live in Belton, Missouri, and you just don't know. You just never know. I don't really know too much about the history of Belton, Missouri. I don't know how many residents carry guns with them. I really don't. So it's just like, for me, it's like I'm not familiar with this. There's already been so many shootings. It's always a shooting at a Walmart or a department store or something like that, a movie theater. And I'm just like, yeah, I only do pickup now only because of COVID. Yeah, that's true. A lot has changed since COVID. I do a lot of online ordering, but I go to Hy-Vee every day, pretty much.
Well, he was saying not only because of COVID.
Oh, not only because of I see.
Right, yeah. So I mean, no, but the point you just made was actually the misconception that people have about active shooters is that, or these mass shootings,
they think they know where they are.
You said your comfortability. You said comfortability by being home, and this nurse just said 33 years. 33 years, and
but it's like a psychological thing,
Yeah, you never think it's going to happen. So for me, it's like, well, when the Success Tech shooting happened, I've always been alert of shootings. It's like my mind just goes there, just to be protective, and you don't want to. You don't want to be over guarded all the time because you live in a world of hysteria, or what's the word? What's the word for paranoia? Yeah, paranoia, but. Paranoia. That's the word I was looking for.
Okay.
And you don't want to live that life either. But it's like, what do you do? And it's so sad. but this is the world we're living in, and we can't be comfortable no matter where we're at. And these people who do commit these type of crimes, it's like I literally feel bad for the fact that their life is that jacked up. Their lives are that jacked up that they feel they got to kill innocent people. Like, what is wrong with? Why aren't people getting?
I feel like I don't understand.
Why aren't they getting the help? Why aren't they getting the help they need? That's it's just insane. They're literally insane to do that.
When I hear you talk, right? But when I hear you talk about this, and then I go to, I'm honestly not sure where you stand on gun law reform.
Okay.
But I would think that I'm not sure.
I'm in the middle. I'm right. I just said that. I posted it yesterday.
But I would think that you would want more gun laws, considering Bryce was in an actual shooting where he could have been shot by a person who was crazy and had a gun in a school. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do want gun laws, but what I'm saying is that I'm right down the middle. I want gun laws, but I don't feel that. I feel that people should have the right to bear their arms. There should be certain laws in place. I feel that certain weapons should not be on the street. All that. I agree with all that.
Okay. I didn't know. We hadn't ever really talked about where you stand on it.
Yeah, but I feel that they shouldn't take them away from people. They should take them away from people who have history. Yes,
there should be some sort of psychological psych exam, a psych exam before you're able to have a gun. I truly believe that.
Why not give us some type of a proficiency test or some type of questionnaire prior to you getting when you get a license, get your license renewed. You should be able to get your license renewed just like a driver's license.
In my personal opinion, it's going to sound really crazy and super left, and I'm going to get it from all ends. But I think you should have a prescription for a gun like you would a medication. Like, you need to have a psych exam. Yeah, you need to have a psych exam. You need to have, you shouldn't be able to buy a gun. Not a prescription, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you should
that's what background checks are designed to do is if you have some sort of flag in the system where you could be violent or something like that, that's the way that background checks should be designed to work.
But that's not the problem. More so, like, it depends. Like, you have people who, like, the guy that shot the I can't think of his name, that shot the people in South Carolina at the church, Dylan Roof. He got his from a gun show where he wasn't checked, for what I understand. And then you have those who are legal gun. Those that are legal gun owners, like you or me, that could be a legal gun owner with no history of any crimes.
People walk into the store and buy a gun, Dad, and use that gun.
That's what I'm saying. They pass the background test. The thing about it is that what identifies. I think that people can have some type of psych evaluation, and mine would be those like the guy that shot in Boulder, Colorado, at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. He already had a history of mental illness. His family knew he had a history of mental illness, but nobody was bold enough to get him committed somewhere or to get him. Well, and not only that, how do you get people to seek help? Don't people have to willfully seek help? You can't force anybody.
What does that have to do with him having a gun?
No. What I'm saying is that he shouldn't have been able to buy a gun, but there was no record. But there was no record because of HIPAA laws. The doctor can't say, "Well, this guy has a mental illness." Yeah. There's laws in place. So what I'm saying is
intensively, I think we're just agreeing with each other in an intense way.
No, we're
arguing with each other, but we're not. We're actually agreeing. I'm
letting you know why these things aren't happening. I agree in these situations because if there's a history of mental illness in a person's life, there should be some way of isolating that person from getting a firearm.
Yeah.
A person with a history of domestic violence should not have a firearm, even though you have not been convicted of a crime yet. But you have a history with the police department of being called, but yet you weren't convicted, you weren't jailed, there was no case against you,
right?
And you have a firearm.
Okay. So just to be sure what we're talking about. So if there was an issue of domestic violence and they show up at someone's home and they decide not to arrest anybody, but there would still be a record of that to the point of saying that, okay, you shouldn't be someone with a firearm.
I said a history.
Is there a record of people who have been called, like at a certain neighborhood or address?
There's history of domestic violence. I mean, it's reported by the police department. The police department has that. I mean, you can tell if there's a disturbance, a domestic disturbance. There's a record of that. But what I'm saying is that there's a history of it. If me and my wife get into an argument one time and somebody called the police and no one, you know what I'm saying, and no one was harmed or injured, but if somebody called the police, they know that there was a domestic disturbance here. But if you have a domestic disturbance on a regular basis and yet still not arrested because sometimes people don't press charges, there should be a record there, and I think the court should get involved because there could be a point of violence at some point. Then you have those who have been violent repeatedly with someone in a domestic disturbance and not been arrested. Why do they still have firearms? Then they have the cases where you have the red flag laws where you have people get flagged. But it was like a story where a guy was arguing because of domestic disturbance. The police came and took his guns away from him. He was angry because he was like, "Why are you taking my guns? I haven't been convicted of nothing." He goes to court with his attorney, and the judge is telling him for 30 days or whatever many days, we're going to hold your firearms as we review this. He snapped in the courthouse. He just lost all his privileges right there because he could not compose himself enough to stand in front of the judge so he can get his guns back. He lost it. He was an example of why some red flag laws are good. Right there is an example. They took him away because of domestic disturbance, and he couldn't even keep his composure in the courtroom. So they took his guns away from him. So it's certain ways where these laws are effective, but then there's other ways where they're too passive. A domestic violence, I don't think if you've been convicted for domestic violence or you've been arrested for domestic violence, that you should have a firearm in your home.
Right.
If you've been in a bar fight more than 2 times, you shouldn't have a firearm, in my opinion.
So how do they go about enforcing these gun laws? Like, why are we still at a standstill with gun laws?
It's politics. Politics, money. That's big money. Think about it. That's big money. Why aren't laws enforced at gun shows? That should be where and there's police all around a gun show. Why aren't those laws enforced? That's where you need to.
Are there police around a gun show? I've never been to a gun show.
Have
you been to a gun show?
Yes, and there's police there, presence there. Okay. And then the other thing is that for sales of firearms, to a friend or to a family member, we don't do background checks. So if we sell it to a neighbor because he wants to buy my gun, why not? Why not have your gun? If I'm going to sell my gun to Darrin, I should be able to ship Darrin my gun to a licensed, to a federal license place where they're going to do your background check.
Okay.
And then you pick up your weapon. But that's not the case with private sales. I could just sell you my gun in certain states. I could just sell you my guns. And there's no background check. I don't know who you are. I don't know your mental capacity. I just know you're a good guy. We work together and you want to buy my gun.
That's a problem.
Yes, it is. The guy in Las Vegas had a good record, no history of anything, but he was a gun collector. That was his only thing. But he shot up a bunch of people.
I will never forget that. That was so crazy. I had a friend who was in Vegas for her birthday.
So how do you track that?
During that same time.
Did she hear that? I mean, did she hear it? Was she aware of that? Okay.
No, she said that she was at the airport. So happened. Yeah, I was like, wow, I was calling her. She's not answering her phone. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, I left her messages like, May, do you see what's going on in Vegas? And when she got home, she called me and she said, hey, yeah, I saw what was going on out there. I was at the airport. I'm like,
so how do you stop that situation?
Late at night? Like, what are you doing at the airport?
How do you stop that situation?
What time was it? I don't know what time it was. I just know it was there.
How do you stop that situation with a guy who had no record, no history? He was a good guy, business owner.
Well, you stop it by restricting. You stop it by restricting the sort of capacity that he had to fire, to augment his weapon to make it semi-automatic or automatic. Didn't he make it an automatic weapon?
I don't think he made it that. I think he might have had a semi-automatic weapon. I think it was like a AR type weapon, wasn't it?
It sounded like from the footage that I remember that they were
It was modified. So it was modified weapon then.
Yeah. So
yeah,
you stop it by stopping people from being able to carry multiple weapons, first of all, into a hotel room with a lot of people. Or have to have all that ammo.
Yeah, okay, I got that, but that's what do we do?
How did he get into the hotel up there?
No, but what I'm saying is that how do we get to the point of just stopping?
You had multiple weapons.
Right. Let's erase that part and let's stop the issue itself. Why do we have? Okay, say he had two 9mm that carry 17 clips. That's still 30-some people he could have killed. So what the point I'm making is to get to the point of stopping a person with that mentality, whether he had a semi-automatic or a handgun or he blew a bomb on somebody, threw a bomb at somebody, we need to be able to track people with these type of. It's hard to do that. That's the hard part.
Hard to
like I said, you take the semi-automatic weapon, you could take the AR-15 out of his hand,
out of his hotel room. Into a crowd.
But he could have been in the crowd. Is what I'm saying.
It wasn't like 2 9mm.
No, okay? You're missing the point I'm making. You're looking at the weapon. I'm looking at let's stop these type of people. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think the problem is the fact that it comes back to the weapons. You have to think about it.
It goes both ways.
Even with his even with his state of being, his state of insanity, right? If he didn't have those weapons,
okay,
he wouldn't have been able to do this. You can't do that with a knife. You can't kill that many people like that.
What if he had fired those 9mm? Those 9mm weapons. Would he have fired those from a hotel window? Right. How many of your stores was it up? 20?
I feel like this piece is isolated.
But couldn't he go down the street and shoot? The streets of Vegas are packed. That's the point I'm making. The streets of Vegas are packed. He could walk down the strip of Vegas and shoot people as he's walking down the street.
Let me tell you why that's not right. Because if he was going to do that, then he would have done that.
No.
He had the option.
It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is it doesn't even matter. The fact is that he was a recluse. He was crazy.
Right.
That's the point I'm making.
Right.
But there was no sign of any mental illness.
That's
no red flags.
So we have to look at.
How would they know? They didn't do a psych exam for him to own these guns. He didn't buy these guns illegally.
And that's why I said I'm not opposed to those type of examinations.
I'm all for it.
I think people should be reevaluated like a driver's license every year, every time they get every so many years. My opinion. I'm a gun owner, and I'm like I have no problem with somebody asking me or invading my privacy on finding out if I'm competent to own a firearm. I have no problem with that. Me personally, I don't have a problem with it.
Let's look at the
you're one of those people
guns altogether and never had a mass shooting.
Excuse me? I
think Australia was the country that was the continent. Whoa. There was a country in Australia.
Yeah. And I do not think that a high-powered semi-automatic long rifle is needed in our country at all. I don't believe that.
Thank you.
I don't believe that. And there's no need for it. Yeah. But on the other hand of that, why did I get one? I got one because it was available. I got one because I was like, if my neighbor across the street is going to have one, I'm going to have one.
Yeah.
Why?
I'm about to explain to you exactly why.
Okay.
We have a history, and I'm taking it to a race level. We have a history of Black Americans being restricted from gun use. We have a history of them not having access like other people have. So if you look at every situation, think about it. After Reconstruction, if Black people were allowed to have firearms without being checked all the time they had one, or being questioned about it, they probably would have more. You go into the 60s and all the years of the lynchings, Black people didn't have the firearms. Why? They didn't have the access. If they had the access, they were questioned by it. You go all the way down to the 60s. The Black Panthers walked to the Sacramento State Capitol with AR-15s or rifles in their arms.
Yeah.
They get questioned. They get let out because it wasn't illegal. But right after that, they banned semi-automatic rifles in California. So Black people have always been behind the 8 ball when it came down to firearms.
Okay.
So I was like, well, okay, if they're going to give me access, I'm going to have what other people are having.
But
not because I need it. Not because I need it. I did it because I said, well, I'm not going to be that person when they decide to ban again. I won't be left out. I'm going to already have what I need. Now,
but you said you just said that you don't need it.
I just said I just told you why I got it too, didn't I? I gave you two answers. I said in America, it's not needed. I would be okay without having a semi-automatic firearm.
Okay.
But I gave you my reasons. But I gave you the reasons why I do have.
I get it.
And
what was the
why don't
movie?
we just ban guns?
Excuse me?
All guns?
Why don't we just ban the semi-automatic weapons and why don't we just ban all of those?
Well, right now, because of the crazy lunatics we have in our country, like the Proud Boys and QAnon and these idiots that stormed the Capitol. No, because like the idiots that stormed the Capitol. That's what I'm saying. That's why I got it, because over the years, these type of people are stocking up. I'm not going to be.
Well, why can't? What
are you going to take them from them?
Take their guns away?
You're not going to take them away from anybody who got them now. That's not going to happen in our country.
Why not?
You're not going to. The government's not going to go into somebody's home and take their guns. It's not going to happen.
That was the
vaccines.
Well, for number one, it's part of our Constitution. That's number one. They're not going to change that in our Constitution.
And I think that should be looked at, because at the time that the Constitution was written, at the time,
that's not going to happen, Bria.
It ain't happening.
The Second Amendment. Sorry,
it's not going to happen. So what I'm saying is that.
No, but go ahead and finish your comment. I'm just saying.
Well, at the time, times were very different, though.
I agree with you, Bria.
I agree with
you, Bria, but
we don't need them anymore.
I just accepted it's not going to happen.
I've accepted that it's not going to happen too. I'm just trying to just spark a few, just throw some things out there and see,
What was the movie about the Black Panthers spring?
Since Donald
what do you
Trump
really need guns for today anyway? You have all these other type of weapons. You have tasers that shoot out at people. You've got mace.
Where do I get a taser though? Where can I get a taser?
Amazon. Tasers everywhere.
Can you get a taser from Amazon?
Everywhere.
Like it'll come in the mail?
Yes.
Okay. See, I don't know. I learned something new. Okay. What was the movie that came out in the spring about the Black Panthers on HBO? I can't remember the name of it. It was
Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yes, thank you. So I gotta admit that looking at that, I was like, dang, these people are carrying around semi-automatic weapons and rifles like in the streets of Chicago. It's like, that looks and feels strange to me.
Taser guns.
Yeah, but why
here?
But exactly. But for the Black Panthers, why did the Black Panthers do that?
Protect themselves, because they thought that they were in danger.
And also,
they probably were.
And also, white communities have been carrying their rifles for centuries. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. When they did it, it was
centuries. Did you hear that? We're in 2021.
And I said that. But what I'm saying is that when other groups of people do it,
I'm just saying
But I'm saying, can everybody just stop using it?
That's what I'm saying. Now that's the point.
I'm saying it may not happen immediately, but let's phase out guns. Why can't we just phase it out like we phased in the seatbelt? You know what I'm saying?
I totally
phased in all of these different parts of our fabric of our society. I'm trying to say the phrase, but I can't get it out.
You're still looking for a solution. You're still looking for the solution for it, which is so ingrained in so much controversy there. I'm trying to explain to you why more minorities are getting firearms.
But I'm just trying to explain the reason why our crime rate and our murder rate is so freaking high. It has a lot to do with the fact that there are guns.
Well, you're looking at crime rate and you're looking at mass shootings, two different things.
How?
Crime. The thing with the crime rate, no one that's a criminal is going to a store to buy a gun.
Hold on, gun murder. Why? What are you talking about? Gun murders.
So right? You know a criminal that's going to go to a store and say, here's my background. Give me a gun. They're not going to do that.
Mass shooters get their guns.
It has happened, LaMarr.
You just said.
I'm saying murder. Okay, I'm talking about gun murders. Gun murder.
Well, you didn't say that first. You said crime. You said crime in America.
Australia, they had one major mass shooting. They took the guns out. Do you know what the crime rate is? Period. In Australia, the continent of Australia.
I totally agree.
They had 319 murders.
I understand
Or 320 some murders. They went down 19. So that was in 2020. 300.
I can adapt to any law they have here, but
I know
I'm
they're
saying
much
is that
smaller than.
they're
I know
not.
they're smaller
Here's
than
the thing.
ours,
Here's the
but
thing.
They're not going to take them
crazy.
away because they're not going to change that part of our Constitution. That's all I'm saying.
I know. All I'm saying is that they should think about it.
So
what is
when
it
you
about
look at
America besides guns?
when
What
you
is
look
it
at
about America besides guns?
hold on, when you look at crime, you cannot compare
Everything.
regular everyday crime to mass shooters.
I know.
As of late, a lot of our mass shooters were gun owners. Criminals.
Where did they get the gun? You just said a criminal is not going to go buy a gun out of the store. Are you talking about a criminal in the moment? Because the people who did those mass shootings are criminals, Dad. They are criminals.
Before the mass shooter did a shooting, he was not a legal. He was not considered a criminal. So what I'm saying is that they were gun owners. They were licensed gun owners, they would have bought a gun and had background checks. I'm talking about you have that group of people, and then you have people that are career criminals who have guns. They did not go buy their guns from a gun store.
Bria, you are dreaming. You have to understand how the gun culture began. I understand that, Greg. I know. What I'm trying to do, though, is I'm just making a point that if we didn't have guns in this country, would we see a difference in
that's like logical? We know that. Well, we know that, but that's not our situation.
Why isn't that a reason enough to start phasing out guns? Why are we not phasing them out?
That's like saying we're gonna start phasing out our election process.
So if we don't have guns,
because it doesn't work, we're gonna pray. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
what do you need? What do we need guns for? Why do we need to? What do we need guns for? Like, let's make a list. Let's make a list.
Personal protection.
Personal protection, and you mean you have to have a gun to do that? You have to have a gun to have personal protection.
It's the most effective way.
Really? There's no other way to defend yourself effectively against the
if you was one of them girls that got snatched up and you had your firearm on you, I bet you wish you had it.
I mean, I would be okay with the taser gun.
Maybe not.
I would most likely be.
Or mace.
Maybe not. Maybe you could also.
Have you carried around mace before? Have you carried around mace before, Bria?
I have carried around mace. I've accidentally maced myself too.
Okay, I'm just wondering. Oh, here's a question.
There was a time where I was in my early 20s and my late teens, and I used to I was on the road a lot back and forth from Toledo, Ohio to Cleveland, and I was on the road all the time, and I had mace with me all the time.
Okay.
Because I was traveling at crazy hours of the night. I was young.
Do you understand when I said that if you were one of them women that got snatched up, if you had a firearm, you may not have gotten snatched up? That's all I'm saying. Just like
he is making is that maybe another weapon would have done the trick as well.
That's all I'm saying.
No, you're looking at a possible. We know a firearm could have really definitely made a difference versus a possible situation with a taser. People have taken tasers. People have taken the tasers out of them. People have fought people with tasers. People have got sprayed with mace and still attacked.
And people have taken guns and shot you instead.
Exactly. It can happen. That can happen as well.
If we were to take away guns tomorrow, if for some reason, let's say that one day in America, magically, all guns disappeared, would there be less murder?
We know that. That's like a
okay. So that's the argument that people make is that people will find a way to kill each other. The argument that on the other side is that people will find a way to kill each other because it's a problem with us.
Yeah. We are the problem. I agree. We are the problem.
Let's talk about this. If there were no guns, Dylan Roof would not have been able.
I'm just asking the questions.
Yeah, if there were no guns,
there have been arguments like, well, if they didn't have a gun, they would have had a knife. If they didn't have a knife, you can't ban all weapons. We're going to ban all weapons because
that's not my argument.
They could have done it with a hammer.
I like to talk about what changes. I like to talk about what changes can we make the way we currently have. I don't like to go to conversations of arguments that that are ridiculous. We know that they're not going to just take away your gun.
That's what people say to me all the time.
What I'm saying is,
say that to me all the time.
And you argue with them about
it. That's the problem. It's the human beings that's the problem.
But if that's the argument, let's talk about this.
Let's go back to the. You just said psyche valves. Let's do registrations, regular registrations. Let's think of ways to try to weed out as much as we can that is causing a problem, because you're not going to get rid of guns.
What about the people, the stand my ground people, the people who are just shooting people because they think that they violated their personal rights or whatever? How about those people? How about the people who are just getting shot because of just stupid reasons? And it may not have been intentionally to shoot them. If they didn't have that gun, it wouldn't happen.
And who utilizes stand your ground law? Who gets away with it?
Look at the countries. Look at the countries that have banned guns and have extremely low murder rates.
Okay, their country doesn't.
Not reason enough. I don't know what is.
Was it in their country's constitution?
You've had school shootings here where little
was it in their school
were murdered because of someone having a legal gun.
Was it in their country's constitution? Those that don't have guns. What was Australia's constitution?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
You gotta go back there. That's where you gotta go.
The Second Amendment is very outdated when it comes to firearms.
I have another question.
Yeah.
So Greg talked about gun culture. Do we have a gun culture in this country that is unique from any other country?
Yes. This is what Dad pointed out. It's in our Constitution, and people believe it's their birthright. Excuse me, to carry a gun, because it is.
No, I agree. I think
it is. That is the culture.
I think it's look at several things. It's the gun culture, but the gun culture is pushed or influenced by the gun manufacturers. Mm-hmm. It's all about money. It's a big money thing. Just like I told you earlier, illegal gun arms and trades, drugs, sex trafficking, all that is dealt with money. So in order to have a legal guns trade, you got to have gun manufacturers.
I mean, think about it.
One of the biggest ones. I think isn't it Glock that's made in Georgia? I think it's in Georgia where Glock is made. I'm not sure. I think it's Georgia. Now they're made overseas, but what I'm saying is they have a big place here in Georgia. I think it is. And I'm thinking like, if we want to start controlling it, why do we have the big manufacturers or these big companies right here in our country? Especially for those that are made outside of the country. They're foreign weapons and they're made outside of the country. If you eliminate the access or slow down the access, it may help. But you got too much wrapped up in it, too much money in it, too much politics in it. That's gonna ruin it. We do need gun reform. We need better laws and regulations on it. Yes, I do believe that. But I'm going to continue to do what I do because I have access for it, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And it's because it goes back to a historical issue and a race issue in our country that Black people have always been behind the 8 ball when it came down to firearms. We're the first to get accused, the first to look as a suspect, and everything. It's unfair. So I was like, I'd rather you catch me as I'd rather be legal with them than be legal without them, and I need them. If that makes sense. And it's always came down to this. Every Black Wall Street happened. Why? Because they didn't have access. All these things over the years has a historical point of, and not only that, it's a stigmatism.
I get it.
It's a stigmatism. Just the part you don't get, I don't think. There's a stigmatism. Okay. There's a stigmatism that comes with being a Black person with a firearm. No, it is. You have a subconscious feeling of thinking beforehand.
I understand what you're saying.
What's going to happen, or how am I going to be viewed? And that's a psychological stigmatism that needs to be eradicated. It needs to be gone. I shouldn't have to walk out worrying about how I'm going to be viewed with it. That's how bad it's gotten our country in the disparity of how firearms are held in households.
And even with all of that, you still don't think
I feel the same way about anybody with an AR-15 though.
No,
if I were to see somebody walking down the street, I think it's wrong for anyone to have that like strapped to their back, unless you're some.
Who do you see walking down the street with an AR-15 strapped to their back?
I've seen it. I've seen it in our community.
I said typically.
I saw it at the Black Lives Matter a year ago, where we marched in Bucyrus, there were people counter protesting, and they had their AR-15s across.
Say this.
I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're white, black, Asian, Hispanic. I just don't want to see it.
And that's ridiculous. I totally agree. That's so.
I guarantee you, Darrin, you will never see a black person walk down the street.
No, they do. No, they have, but they've done it. They've done it.
Isn't that what you're talking about, LaMarr? That's what you just said, LaMarr. He's like, I don't want to be seen as being offensive if I have my weapon on me. Isn't that what you said?
But I didn't say out in the open.
I
said subconsciously, I don't carry my firearm open. Well, I said in the mind of a lot of black people, they said, "Well, I'm not going to take my gun because I don't want to be the one that looks like a suspect. I don't want to be accused or viewed a certain way." Where a white person can have their gun, they're not viewed as a criminal first. A black person is typically viewed as a criminal or a suspect first with their firearm. That's the stigmatism. That's the bias that we need to erase.
I understand.
So
that.
I'm fighting that bias.
Okay.
Since Trump
I will give an example of what Dad is talking about.
Since Trump came into office,
I know what you're talking about.
Can I give an example really quick?
Trump came into office, more black people have became licensed firearm users because they start to study and learn that. Why are we always stuck? Why are we always the last?
Enraged a whole group of racist white people. That's because Trump engaged with a whole bunch of racist white people who don't like black people, and he made them believe that he was on their side.
Right.
That's why you see a lot of black people getting guns.
No, we know that. We felt that there was
over and over again. But I want to give an example to what you're talking about to see if we're on the same page. So there's this guy in Walmart a little while ago. I think it was like a few years ago. He was in Walmart and he was looking at the BB guns in Walmart. And a woman called the police on him and said that he had a gun. Wow. And then the police literally came in there and didn't even ask him. They just saw the BB gun. They shot him. They didn't even ask. They just said, "That's him." Didn't even nothing.
That's what I'm fighting. Black people should be licensed firearm owners, not because you're part of a gun culture. I could be someone who's just a person who don't even associate with anybody. I should be viewed differently for a gun.
Yeah, that would be an example. And that was a regular day thing. He literally just went into Walmart and was looking at a toy gun.
Right, I remember that, and that's not the first time it's happened. So when we can get past all that, you know what I'm saying? It's sad in our country with firearms. Yes, it's horrible. But I feel that
you're going to phase them out. I'm still going to stick by that.
Whether you phase them out, whatever you do, you're trying to fight a battle that's almost not going to happen.
Never going to happen.
Because it's in our Constitution. So we got to find ways of fixing what we currently have.
I'm not delusional. I understand that it's never going to happen. I just want to have the conversation of what it could be if we didn't have them, if we phased them out. Do you know that maybe they will eventually phase out because all of these people that are in office, all of these old heads that are in the GOP and the top, they're all gonna die. They're all gonna go. I
got a question about that.
Like that, but they're all gonna die one day, and you're gonna have this new progressive generation that's eventually going to take over office. And then is it going to change? Because I mean,
how many things are
I don't know about that. We'd have to talk about that. That's a big topic. So
how many things our Constitution has been changed? But Greg says he will find a reason to use it. Like, what does that mean?
I wanted to post this because I had a comment about this. So I mean, the adage is that if you have a hammer, then all you see is nails, right? So if you had a gun, then it's going to be more likely you're going to find a reason to use it.
Like, what do you mean? I have one. I use mine at the range.
Okay.
I haven't shot my gun anywhere outside of the range.
All I'm saying is,
I'm trying to understand the point of you'll find a reason.
More likely. I'm not saying that you're going to use it. I'm just saying it's more likely that you're going to find a reason to use it.
I don't mean like they're all going
to understand. I'm trying to understand.
Like, I just want to revisit. Revisit what I was trying to say real quick. But
I agree with both of you.
I'm trying to understand that
the older generation. The generation of guns, the generation of old Republican, the generation of the grand old, what is it? The GOP? Grand old party. That traditional mindset is shifting, you guys.
See, I challenge you on that. I challenge you on that.
Maybe not.
What makes you think it's only Republicans? That's the point. That's
no. I'm saying pushing the it's the GOP is normally the right wing people that you see going so hard. I'm not saying that Democrats don't, want to keep their gun rights. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you normally see on TV people from the Republican Party going so hard on guns. People like Marjorie Green Taylor with her guns.
Right. Exactly. That's ridiculous.
People like that.
Did you see her ad? Did you see her ad?
Yeah, she's crazy. She's insane. That woman is a nutcase. I don't understand how she's in any type of. That woman is a nut.
Let's look at that same analogy. Let's look at that same analogy, Bria. Same analogy. GOP pushing hard.
Like that, I've never seen anyone that crazy in office. I have never seen it.
Your same analogy. GOP pushing hard for firearms. You just mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene pushing hard for firearms. Democrats want their firearms just as much. They're just not out there pushing for it in politics like the GOP. Then you say, let me
it doesn't raise money for them.
Let me. They're not raising money. Let me push it. Let me just give you the same argument. Then you have the GOP pushing hard to stop abortion, right? But yet that same party still has abortions. You see what I'm saying? They're not talking about it, but they're still doing it. The same way a lot of the Democrats, they're not pushing all this stuff about the farm, but they still got them. They never stop buying them.
But because, like you said,
so it looks at what's
cultural thing.
But politics is from a narrative and talking point argument. That's all that is. But we're talking about get down to real people. You grab a gun owner, you don't know if he's Republican or Democrat until you ask him.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. You don't know who they are. These shooters, these mass shooters, what were they? Democrat or Republican? Do you know? We don't know. The AR-15 holders.
We know most of them were racist. We know that.
We don't know that. Why would make you think they were the mass shooters? What make you think they're racist?
The man at Kroger? I don't know.
Why?
No,
the mass
shooters. He was white. I don't even think he was white.
No. What make you think mass shooters are racist?
When it's a mass shooting and it's clear. Okay, let me clarify. When it's a mass shooting and it's clearly a terrorist attack, right?
It could be anywhere.
Dylan Roof, a racist. The man who shot up no matter what race they are, the man that shot up the movie theater and the.
Okay, what makes him a racist?
Okay. What about the guy that shot up all those the gay club? Club,
he had a bias against race.
He was homophobic. Then you have the man that was in Georgia shooting up the massage parlors and shooting all of those Asian women.
Okay.
Racist. You have what I'm saying is
you can't label.
Let's take racist out and put biased. If every black person in America were registered for a gun, they would change.
That's the audience to see that.
That's the exact point. That's the exact point I was making.
I just want the audience to see that.
That's the exact point I was making. I said I want to have mine before the laws change.
But we saw that with the Black Panther Party.
We know that's going to happen. So that's why black people are getting armed now.
That's not surprising.
The Black Panther Party, that wasn't a widespread phenomenon, though.
I mean, it kind of was. As soon as they got guns,
did change laws about it. They did change laws, didn't they, LaMarr?
The black people got guns.
Didn't they change laws already about it?
Laws changed, and soon after that, it was the law changed nationally. I mean, across the country after a period of time for semi-automatic rifles. But that's what I'm saying is that
it was like all the white people were like, "Oh my god!"
Why did?
And they've got afros and they've got leather jackets. Oh,
why was it so much? Why was it so much hype when the NFAC crew it was down in Stone Mountain with their firearms? Why was it such a big story?
Oh, because you're talking about the black gun owners,
the black militia that was down there. Why was that
a group of black people?
Huh?
Yes, Asian shootings laws change with months. This is a different subject, but yes, Asian hate crime.
I'm
not mad at that. That's a great thing.
We're talking about black people with firearms. When the NFAC crew was down in Georgia, and then he also was in Kentucky, the one guy got arrested because he had his laser pointed at a federal officer. He didn't know who that guy was. But why is it such a big story then? When you have all these other
big group of black people with guns,
all these other militias across the country who've been collecting guns for centuries.
Do you think it's a guilt thing? Do you think it's like there's like a guilt that kicks in? Like, oh my gosh, they're finally getting revenge?
It's a
Do you
fear
think
thing.
that maybe it's a guilt thing? Like we held them down for so long, and now they're finally starting to take advantage of the rights that they have.
It's a fear thing.
Guns, and no, you don't think that's kind of a guilt thing too?
It's more fear. It's more fear than guilt. Okay. Guilt is when you respond in the right way, and you feel guilty, so you go ahead and take. George Floyd was guilt. George Floyd got the Derek Chauvin.
Well, there's also guilt that makes you defensive because you think that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying George Floyd's office, that police officer Derek Chauvin was arrested because of guilt.
Yeah, that was guilt.
People felt like this was so bad, we can't deal with this no more. We got to get this guy. That's guilt when it's been happening for so long. But when you see a bunch of armed black people, there's a fear that sets in.
Well, that didn't really change much because after that there were a string of black shootings.
but the thing about it is more and more are being charged now. Then as more people are being charged. That's still not a big number, but more are being charged. But they haven't been through their cases yet. But we had this long talk about this gun thing. Just to make it clear with me from where I stand, I feel that laws can make a difference. But what I'm saying is that I don't ever think that in our country they're going to take away firearms. But there can be tighter requirements in owning one.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. And then
I know that guns aren't going to disappear, you guys. I know. I just thought it was entertaining to talk about it. And I thought it would be good to kind of dig into our brains and see, what we thought about it.
Yeah, but those arguments just go on and on. That's why nothing gets done.
That's true.
Nothing gets done because we don't put the reality in. We want to talk about what we want. The gun culture want the guns. The people who don't like them want them to get them out instead of saying, okay, where do we come to the middle at?
And that's why out though. I do feel like that.
And that's why we have a violent culture though.
Yeah, I think that we should phase guns out. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think
our violent culture goes all the way back to what we watch on TV. It goes to a whole bunch of stuff. Our whole culture is violent. It's because the industry, the thing that makes money is violent. The whole, all that.
So let's see. We also have.
So you're gonna get your iPhone. You're gonna get your iPhone, Bria, right?
Yeah.
Well, your iPhone ordered. It's ready to go.
The View host, though. Let's talk about the breakthrough cases. There's
been some breakthrough cases even in my hometown. Yeah, it's kind of scary.
Is that video on here? It's right here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here that I'm not 100% aware of. Can someone please apprise me of the situation?
I need the two of you to step off for a second.
Okay. Anna and
we're going to bring you back later.
Have to leave.
Yeah. Yes.
And we'll tell you why.
More information later. It's a tease.
We'll tell you why in a couple of minutes. So shall I introduce the vice president?
Yes.
Okay. So vice president, no.
Nope.
Okay. Shall we dance? Let's do a tap dance.
Let's do a tap dance.
All right. What?
Let's do a short commercial and we'll come back.
Talk about what?
What else can we talk about for Hot Topic?
Okay. Oh. As we always do in television when we're in a tight spot, we'll be right back.
So the reason why they got out is because they tested positive for COVID and they were kicked off the set. So
and Kamala Harris was there, but she did I say it right again? Or I mess her name up.
Dang, that was going to be a good episode.
Did I mess her name up again?
Kamala.
So did they ever do the interview then? Because I didn't watch it.
Yeah, they did the interview. They did it from another room on the set because Secret Service decided not to bring her out because of the COVID situation. So they had her in another room, and they were able to do the interview from another.
By the way, Sonny and and Anna were
LaMarr.
vaccinated. And apparently it was a breakthrough case. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to keep happening.
What's crazy is like they didn't even know at the time, did they?
No. They didn't look like they did. I don't know. They were
like surprised.
They were surprised. They didn't know what they had.
It was like, but I love about Joy is that she's so seasoned with this show that nothing rattles her at all. She just knows how to just make it interesting. So she's like, shall we do a tap dance? Like she's just so very dialed into this that I just love watching her.
That's amazing that it happened right there live on the show.
I
But
love
well,
were
live
saying-
TV, sometimes things happen. Yeah.
you were mentioning about the iPhone. You were mentioning about that. What were you going to say about iPhone?
No.
Well, we're getting through this fast. We still got 5 minutes. Okay. The iPhone just released
Apparently,
yesterday.
there was a 30-minute delay, but there you go. Go ahead. iPhone.
Oh, yeah, they released yesterday. And wait, it was a 30-minute delay on what?
That
On
was
the interview. On the interview.
that was the interview.
And it's coming out, and they have some new colors. I tried to get pictures, but for some reason, I could not get a picture of the iPhones that are coming that I've just released. But anyway, they were out for pre-order, and my husband and I, we are for the last 2 years, we've been Android users. So prior to Android, I was
Apple.
Yeah, I was
Apple.
an iPhone user for a long time, and then my husband convinced me to go to the Note. So I have the Note 10, right? So I'm gonna go back to Apple, and I was like, okay, George, like the phone is coming out. We're gonna pre-order the phones, and you're gonna come over to Apple with me. And he just didn't believe me, and now here we are. We pre-ordered them. So
there you go.
Team iPhone again. And
I just don't want to pay money again because they're picking with my phone. I have an Android, an S9 Galaxy, and they're picking with me. Like it's like they just be picking with me. Last week I had like several phone calls at the house I had to take, and people couldn't hear me. It was like
they want you to upgrade your phone.
Right. So check out, my Wi-Fi signal was good, but my mobile signal was really low. Usually you see the Wi-Fi really bad in some places, but it was in my home. And I couldn't get a signal. Like mom called, my wife called. You know, I had a doctor's office appointment on the phone and I couldn't talk. And I'm like, what the heck? The next day it was fine. I'm like, what happened? And so then I found out that T-Mobile I'm with T-Mobile. They had I was considered a person that was under a security breach. That and I'm not sure exactly what happened. So I got a call and set this up, but I get 2 or 3 years of free McAfee ID protection from them. They're gonna cover the cost of it, but the phone is still been acting funny. Like me and Shirley be talking, and she said, "I can't hear you. You sound muffled." Like all of a sudden, the microphone goes bad. It's like it's just like,
old, though.
Huh?
The phone is old though.
I mean, it's not that old. 2018. I'm like resistant of buying a phone, but if I got another phone, I was gonna get the iPhone.
I always wait until the contract's up and I can get an upgrade.
See how much your phone is worth.
Yeah, it's like
I got $1,000 for my phone. George got $800 for his phone. So our monthly payments on our phone, George's doesn't have a monthly payment on his phone, and mine is like $2.
Yeah,
nice.
Well, we might take a look at it because it's like I want to know how much I can get off of my phone because it's in good shape.
Go online and look. What are you guys on T-Mobile? Oh, well, Dad, actually, sorry, T-Mobile sucks. No offense. That's why we're leaving. Is because T-Mobile bought Sprint, or they partner with Sprint.
Yeah,
we were trying to upgrade and stay with the same company, but they were just really trying to just screw.
I have T-Mobile as well, so
sorry. Not service.
Greg loves his Note 10.
Well, the thing about it with T-Mobile,
I love my Note. I love my Note too, Greg. I really do. My phone is awesome, but I'm ready to come back home.
Only reason why I'm still with T-Mobile is because I'm grandfathered in, and I don't have I have the unlimited Wi-Fi hotspot, all that.
Yeah, you've been with T-Mobile for a long time.
Yeah,
I was on T-Mobile.
2000. Yeah, you was on T-Mobile.
Wow.
Right. And so it's like I'm grandfathered in, so no matter what plan I get, they keep telling me I would never.
Grandfather.
Oh, hush! I am. I'm a good grandfather. But you were making a joke. I know you were. You were taking a stab at me, man.
You're grandfathered in, literally.
Yeah, but that's what's keeping me from leaving T-Mobile is that my bill is like $100 a month. You know what I'm saying? And I pay the taxes and fees make it $139 or something. But if I change up anything, I'm gonna be paying ridiculous amounts of money just for the service. You know what I'm saying? That's what sucks.
We moved back to AT&T.
And that's really bad because they're horrible.
Really? I liked AT&T when I had
okay.
Their fees and stuff, the way they charge and the way they do stuff. Remember how they
went from Verizon to T-Mobile because it saved us money, but sometimes the coverage is really strange. Yeah. And
I didn't really experience any fees with AT&T that were outrageous. The only thing,
remember when you was with my dad? You was at your grandfather's plan. Wasn't there some issues there with the
I had my own
T-Mobile?
plan.
Wasn't there a plan with? I thought it was an issue with AT&T. They charge you extra for something.
Not for you mean? I don't think I was on Grandma and Grandpa's. I had my own plan. Maybe it was there.
You were on with them at first.
No.
You
no,
sure?
I'm positive. Yeah.
Okay. I thought you was on, but anyway, I thought there was some fees you had to pay for something.
I remember when I got the iPhone, when I had the iPhone 6, and then I had to pay like the taxes on the phone or something like that. Like, so the first bill was really expensive because none of your discounts kick in until like 2 months later.
I thought it was something like where you go over your internet charges or something, went over internet threshold or something. They do have a threshold with AT&T where they slow your phone down. They did it one time, I know.
So it must have been before then. It must have been after you go over a certain amount, you have to. Oh yes, I do remember. After you go over a certain amount, you got to pay $15 a month extra for the extra internet that you use. They automatically add another 15, add another part. But that's old. That's a long time ago.
But do they still have that?
No.
So it's totally unlimited?
Totally unlimited. They may slow down at certain times. It depends on your plan. It depends on what plan you have.
That's what I'm saying. I grandfather in, but I don't have that problem. That's where I'm stuck at. Because T-Mobile does the same thing. They'll slow you down.
No.
And I don't have that because I'm totally unlimited on everything.
Sorry, my child is coughing.
Okay. Yeah, so that's been my reason why I haven't changed. And I'm thinking about that new iPhone, but I'm just so mad because I don't want to change phones.
Well, I would say to do this. Why don't you check with T-Mobile and see what type of plans, what type of deals you can get? They're gonna make.
I can upgrade. I can upgrade and keep my plan. But what I'm saying is, I don't want to pay the money. I don't want to pay.
How much your phone is worth? They might give you $800 for your phone. They might give you
really
$700 for it, and then you get the iPhone Pro or the iPhone 13, like the iPhone 13 Pro or the iPhone 13, and you may not have to pay anything for it at all. Just depends. You should check it out. I don't see why not. Your phone is old, and no offense, 2018 is old.
I know. I'm a technology person.
I don't think it is. Personally, I don't think it is, but it seems like they add so many new things and new, capabilities to our phones every single
there really isn't anything that I need. I have what I need with my iPhone 10.
They make it to where you need something, is what
That's what I'm saying. They just they just did the thing with my phone with the audio where I couldn't hear. I'm like, what the heck? Then my Wi-Fi goes out. I'm like, what are you doing to my phone? Leave me alone.
What are you guys' bottom lines for today?
My bottom line is for media outlets. Sorry, I was looking down at my phone. My bottom line is for media outlets to do the proper coverage. Like, don't be biased in who you cover. Like, I'm still really upset about all of these people that are missing and no one is caring. No one cares to cover it on the news. It's like, even in my state of Missouri, I get Amber Alerts all the time. I know there are missing Black kids here, but I never receive Amber Alerts for Black kids. Like, I know that's crazy, but I don't receive any Amber Alerts for Black young adults. I get a lot of Amber Alerts for young white adults, young kids that are white. Okay. And I've had a lot of Amber Alerts, like so much so that now my phone goes off for an Amber Alert. I know that it's an Amber Alert and I'm not freaking out. Like, why is my phone going off? Because it's like a siren that goes off. But just do the right coverage. Do the due diligence to find these kids that are missing and really care. It doesn't matter what race they are. Put in the work for everybody equally. Think of it.
Well, my bottom line in our most expansive talk today was about guns and things like that. So I'm still wondering to myself, are we a culture that's violent? Do we have a problem with our hearts? Is it something about our culture that makes us want to shoot people? And I don't know. I hope not. I hope that we can alleviate this and begin to mend hatred and violence in this country. I think we have a violence problem.
I do.
A violence problem.
We had a lot of problems. We do.
Oh, you're right. It's funny hearing that because it's like we know there are problems. Let's continue to try to get to the bottom line and fix it. What's your bottom line? Is it my turn or is it still on you there?
Your turn. Your turn. It's your turn.
Oh, bottom line. My bottom line, man. So much. Just again, I've always tell people to educate themselves, but I just want people to just you know what? I'm gonna use myself as an example. We need to be more humble. Humble ourselves. Because I have been angry all week. I've been freaking angry all week. And it's like, not that I've taken my anger out on anybody, but I just had an angry spirit all week. And sometimes you got to just stand back and like I'll pray this every morning. Me and my wife, we pray that God allow us to see people through his eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I like that.
Regardless if you're right or wrong in a situation, is can you see the situation through other people's eyes? And so I just ask people to be humble today. Start being more humble and see if you can see people through God's eyes. If you don't believe in God, see people through their eyes. Try to have some empathy there. So that's my bottom line.
All right.
Amen.
Okay,
well, we'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next week, God willing. And have a great week, and take care of yourselves, and others that you love.
All right. Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I almost ended the broadcast without the outro. Goodbye.
Here we go.